Good evening. We'll be opening up tonight's Town Council meeting here in Council Chambers. Today is September 22nd, 2014. We are opening up at 7 p.m. We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Councilor Kraskow.
Present.
Councilor Clements.
Present.
Councilor Estrada.
Present.
Councilor Manna.
Present.
Councilor Moriarty.
Present.
Councilor Peliquin.
Present.
Councilor Steves.
Present.
Councilor Vandal.
Present.
Councilor Vecchia.
Present.
9 here.
Thank you. Before we actually begin with the business of the meeting, I would just, I'd like to, it was just September, so about 6 months ago, that former council chairman Dave Langevin had called up Rudy DiGregorio to this podium to recognize him and thank him for his efforts, as well as numerous others, but chiefly among the great work that Rudy had done over the years, in particular with the Christmas display. And Rudy had passed away just recently, and I just wanted to take a brief moment of silence if we could. Thank you. Agenda item number 3 is to consider and accept the Town Council meeting minutes of Monday, September 8th, which is the actual date. On the agenda says the 4th, but it's actually the 8th of 2014.
So moved.
Second.
Need a motion first, unless I missed it.
So moved.
So moved. Second. I thought that's, I'm sorry. I thought Councilor
Just want to make sure.
Steves.
Any discussion, corrections? Seeing none. Hand vote is fine. All those in favor? Unanimous of all present. Agenda item number 4, subcommittee reports. A, general government. Councilor Clements.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Guess what? I'm out of order. Could I grab your space? Is that okay? Thank you. Meeting of the General Government Subcommittee was held on Monday, September 15th in the George Parent Conference Room. In attendance were myself, committee members Council Vandal, Council Peliquin, Citizens Member Mike James. Also in attendance were Councilor Manna, Councilor Steves, Town Manager Pecos, Ron Plouffe, Rick Clements, and Linus Bissett. Holly Christo is excused. We called the meeting to order at 7 o'clock. The first item agenda was to review Section 4 and 4A of the Town Council Rules and Regulations and the Acting Town Manager's memo dated 8/13/14 recommending Rule 4 and 4A be repealed and refer changes, if any, to Council for ratification. I opened the meeting, the agenda item for discussion. I said that I felt that repealing Section 4 and 4A completely doesn't work. Councilor Steves said he would like to add citizens members to the censure paragraph for unexcused absences. Other changes were discussed, and a motion was made by Mike James, seconded by Councilor Peliquin, with a favorable recommendation to Council to make the following changes. There was a lot more discussion than that. We discussed a number of reasons that we can't just repeal 4 and 4A. It had to do with connections to the Charter, and that some of it referred to ending dates of terms. Just to let you in on some of that background, I always find it's important that the people know why we did what we did. So in the end, the following changes were recommended. Rule 4, delete the term is to expire at the organizational meeting of the next town council. Change because they don't. They expire July 30th according to another rule that we have in the council rules. Change the last paragraph to read, quote, non-council members shall be appointed to subcommittee in accordance with Section 2-4-4 of the Home Rule Charter. For Rule 4A, we would delete the first sentence, quote, citizens may be appointed, it's a longer paragraph, to the town council, end quote, and change, quote, council chair, end quote, in the last sentence to subcommittee. Vote by show of hands, all in favor, 4-0. Agenda item number 2, vote to approve Stantec change order number 1 in the amount of $67,385,054.54 for reconstruction phase 2, Southbridge Municipal Airport, and to appropriate said amount from the receipts reserved account number 6902, insurance in excess of $20,000, to the airport damage account number 9085 to fund the change and submit to council for ratification. Richard Clements said the original plan was to replace the damaged section with a 60 by 60 hangar and a 1,200 square foot terminal. The state wants conforming design throughout, and the state will pay for additional building space. The state basically came up to all the municipal airports in Massachusetts and offered to build them new hangars. We were one of them that moved up on the list due to the tornado damage in our already existing plan. So we are working with the state now. We will get a state-of-the-art terminal building for Southbridge because of our position in line in getting the funding. Just letting you know that. They want the terminal building to be approximately 3,200 square feet. A motion was made by Councilor Peliquin and seconded by Mike James with a favorable recommendation to Council to approve Stantec's change order number 1 in the amount of $67,385.54 for reconstruction Phase 2 Southbridge Municipal Airport, and to appropriate said money from Receipts Reserve Account number 6901 to the Airport Damage Account number 9085 to fund the change. Vote by show of hands. All in favor, 4-0. A reminder that the monies that we just talked about, $68,000 and change, is insurance money. It has nothing to do with, it will not come from you taxpayers' money, it is insurance money. Just want that to be known also. Agenda number 3, discuss update on Southbridge Airport business and airport fuel farm system. Richard Clements passed out a PowerPoint presentation and reviewed it with the subcommittee members present. Mr. Clements said an inspection was done of the fuel farm system and a report was given listing the repairs needed to be done in order to sell fuel. As of this moment, the airport is not selling any fuel. It's been shut down since mid-July. I believe longer than that. This is a loss of 5,600 gallons in fuel sales, of which we earn approximately 85 cents to $1 a gallon. A major portion of the operating budget for the airport is funded by fuel sales. This new system will be a revenue generator for the town with a payback of just over a year. Mr. Pecos said his office would have a funding plan in place within a few days. A motion was made by Michael Janes, seconded by Councilor Peliquin, with a favorable recommendation to Council to approve funding of up to $30,000 to repair the fuel delivery system and install a credit card terminal at the airport contingent upon an acceptable funding plan provided by the town manager. Vote by show of hands. All in favor, 4-0. A motion to adjourn was made by Councilor Peliquin and seconded by Mike Janes. Vote by show of hands. All in favor, 4-0. We adjourn the meeting at 8:30. Respectfully submitted, Evelyn Rivera, recording clerk. No meeting scheduled at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. B, DPW, Councilor Vandal.
Excuse me.
No report, no
comment.
meeting scheduled. Thank you, Mr.
I'm
Chairman.
sorry. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I just want to touch on something that Councilor Clements mentioned in agenda item number 1, that there was much more discussion, but I thought it very important to make it known that it was suggested by Councilor Peliquin for citizen members to subcommittees to have their own separate policy, and I thought that was very important to be in these notes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. C, Education and Human Services, Councilor Peliquin.
No report, no meeting scheduled.
As the new ship's fog horn like that installed, goes off. Make sure everybody's paying attention.
We just wanted to make sure people knew that the sound system works. Thank you. Again, Councilor Peliquin, sorry.
No meeting scheduled. I have no minutes.
Thank you. D, Planning and Development, Councilor Manna.
I have no meeting scheduled at this time, and there has been no meeting for a few weeks, so I have no minutes. I do want to remind people out there, we are still looking for people for the Implementation Steering Committee. If you are interested, please submit a letter to either Mrs. Ackley's office or the town manager's office. So far, we do have 2 people interested. We hate to see this get behind, so thank you.
Thank you. E, Protection of Persons and Properties, Councilor Carrasco.
Yes, we had a meeting on Monday, September 15th. The meeting here in the George Parent Conference Room. In attendance were myself, Councilor Manna, Councilor Vecchia, Citizen Member Gary Forcier. Also in attendance were Councilor Steves, Town Manager Pecos, Lieutenant Shane Woodson, and Citizen Member Jack Jovan was excused. I called the meeting to order at 6 p.m. We had one agenda item, which was to vote to approve the appointment of the following 6 individuals to the Southbridge Auxiliary Police Department for a 3-year term effective immediately through June 30th, 2017. A, Jason Bouchard, Derek DeRusso, Rocky Duckton, Ryan Matt, John Mulcahy, and David Stanger Jr. And I want to apologize to any individuals if I butchered your last name. Lieutenant Woodson said 2 officers that were recently hired were pulled from the auxiliary officer pool. These 6 officers would bring our number of auxiliary officers to 28. 5 of these have attended the Reserve Police Academy and paid for it on their own. One of them is a retired police officer and does not need to attend the Reserve Academy. Mr. Forcier asked if a standardized application could be used in the future, and it would help with the continuity in information. A motion was made by Councilor Manna and seconded by Gary Forcier with a favorable recommendation to council to appoint the above-mentioned 6 individuals to the Southbridge Auxiliary Police for a 3-year term effective immediately through June 30th, 2017. Vote by a show of hands. All in favor. A motion to adjourn was made by Councilor Vecchia and seconded by Councilor Manna. Vote by a show of hands. All in favor. 4-0. Meeting was adjourned at 6:15. Respectfully submitted, Evelyn Rivera, recording clerk. I have no meeting scheduled as of yet, but we will be scheduling a meeting upcoming to be talking about the police reorg plan that's coming, and also an update also from the fire department in regards to the policy and procedures.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I
Yes.
was present at that meeting.
I'm sorry?
I was present at that meeting.
At the
Yes,
PPP meeting?
yes, he was.
Thank you.
So, yes, he
We can
was.
get that corrected,
If we can,
please.
yes.
Agenda item subsection F, Town Manager Search Committee, Councilor Carrasco.
Yes, we had another meeting last week, which was held in executive session, and we have 10 individuals that are going through the process right now of being telephone interviewed. As we move forward, we want to continue to involve the community, and we want to increase our transparency. In the past, it has been stated that the council has never been transparent or hasn't, and we want to change that, and we're doing something different this time around. We will be having a citizen panel. We are going to be narrowing it down to 6 individuals, and so we're going to be moving into the final stages, and the top 6 candidates will be selected from the pool of 55 applicants, and we will be having preliminary interviews, and it will be conducted by a selection committee along with group citizens, a group from municipal employees from our department. So I do have a special announcement, and I want all those those here present, the citizens, and also those watching, to pay close attention, because we want you to be part of our process. We want your feedback. We want your input. It's going to be, we're looking for approximately 10 residents that will volunteer to participate and to be part of a panel to interview the 6 semifinalists for the position of town manager. A facilitator, will be led, and there will be through some prepared questions and answers, and the process of each candidate to help gather some information and get your input and opinion. So what we are looking for, if you are a citizen that wants to participate, we need you to be part of this. The interviews will be taking place October 15th, Wednesday, October 15th, from 8:30 in the morning till 5 p.m. And it's very important, if you volunteer, you are needed for the all-day affair. You must be available for the entire day. So we will need you to send an email to southbridgetm@mrigov.com. In your email, please submit your name, contact information, and a brief profile touching upon your work and life experience, civic and social service activities, current and past community involvement, and any other related facts that might spark some interest in serving this panel. The choices, the persons that are selected will not be selected by the town council. They will be selected by the recruiting firm that was selected last term, and it's Municipal Resources Incorporated. So they will be selecting. You will have to submit your information to them. They will select. We want as many people involved from all types. So again, it's going to be 10 individuals that will be selected, but we want you to be involved. And also, with that being said, we're also going to be reaching out to all the employees, Town of Southbridge employees. We're going to also have a municipal employee panel. So we want to be able to, the same thing, it's up to 10 individuals to participate in the panel. So department heads, lay workers, whoever that is a town employee, please submit. Again, submit your name, contact information, brief profile of themselves, touching upon your work, life experience, civic and social service activities, current and past community involvement, and any other related facts about the interest in serving on this panel. And I believe that needs to be submitted. Excuse me, I did not write the date completely. Sorry. We need to receive the email, and the interest needs to be submitted by October 8th. So from now to October 8th, you have a chance to get involved and be part of the process of the 6 semifinalists. Again, so the email, it's southbridgetm@mrigov.com. That's all I have.
Thank you. I know we have a couple questions, but just quickly, because it may help mitigate some of these questions, the basic way this process has been set up to work at this point is the Town Manager Search Committee has narrowed it down to 10 what essentially are quarterfinalists. From there, the consultant is working on telephone interviews, and once those have been completed in conjunction with the search committee, a decision will be made as to who the 6 semifinalists will be. From there, those 6 semifinalists will come in and meet with these 3 different panels. That one panel will be the search committee, another would be a panel of residents, and another would be a panel of municipal employees. The idea being that these are not panels that would have votes per se. They would more or less just be, for lack of a better term, an advisory panel or group to provide some input and feedback. Ideally, especially with the citizenry panel, you would have a wide range of individuals from various types of backgrounds involved across any socioeconomic demographic, really. Trying to make sure that we hit everybody. People who are pleased with the government, people who are upset, people who have been here for a long time, people who have not been here for a long time, people who are well off, people who may not be well off, et cetera, et cetera. Just trying to make sure that everybody in town has a chance to be represented. That group, those particular panels would be selected by Mr. Jutton from MRI with the intent, anyways, that it would prevent any sort of loading from the committee, the selection committee. So that way they're not kind of choosing and kind of gearing that towards a particular candidate or a particular whatever. So that way it's kind of hands-off at that point. And then from there, all of the summaries and thoughts and feedback would come before the search committee, who would then narrow it down to 3 finalists who would interview with the full council for the council to make their determination. Maybe 3, might be 4, depending on how that goes. So I had Councilor Manna with a question first.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, probably now to you. I guess you did answer one of my questions, was who's going to be doing the final interviews, and that is the town council. When all of this was being put together, though, there was no 3 different sections. So I guess I'm a little confused where all that came in and when that decision was made. And I'm very surprised by this tonight. I'm glad. I like the transparency. I love to see community involvement. but we as a council had no idea that this was going to happen. And I guess maybe a little bit more transparency from the town manager search committee. I would have been to that meeting that you had, the last one, but it was all executive session, so I didn't go. There was nothing on the agenda but executive session. So I'm just curious where this came about, because I've been to most of the meetings.
Sure. So I can answer that two different parts there. One, just quickly as far as the executive session, just in case for everybody else, especially since we're talking about trying to be as transparent as possible. The basic guideline that we have is the people who apply, until they become finalists or semi-finalists, do so in confidentiality so that their job is not potentially put at risk. So that is the reason it became an executive session at this point, was because now that we're looking at documents with names and such, if the council was to look at that, a majority of the council was to look at that, because it's not a council meeting, those documents would in theory, or in fact rather, become public documents that somebody could request, including the newspapers and media and such, which may or may not compromise that confidentiality. As far as this whole process, I could not tell you at the moment if you were in attendance or not, but the original search committee that was chaired by former Councilor Marcucci, when the consultants were being weighed and discussed, Mr. Jutton came in, and this was part of his proposal. This is how they usually will do these sort of things. So this was something that was outlined generally anyways. It may not have been horribly specific in terms of 10 members on the a citizen search type of thing, but the outline of having citizen involvement and employee involvement as part of this preliminary interview process was something that was outlined. Again, I could not recall for you the exact date. It was whatever the date was where they came in, both Mr. Jutton as well as a representative from another firm, a third firm elected not to send somebody. So that is when it was outlined, at least very generally. Again, I don't recall off the top of my head how specific he went into that at that point.
Yes, I remember that meeting, and he did discuss getting community involvement, but I didn't think anything was ever etched in stone where there'd be 3 separate committees besides the town manager's committee, and that was the last I ever heard of it.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Vecchia?
Thank you very much. To the chairman, you state 3 or 4 final candidates. I thought it was going to be 3. 4 is okay with me. It doesn't matter to me. As long as the 3 or 4 will be presented to the council and we have the final votes on the 3 or 4.
Right. By charter, this group is the one that makes that decision.
Right.
So it would come here. The only reason usually odds are it'll probably be 3. I only said 4 just because if by some, great happenstance there have to be 4 stellar candidates, it would make sense to interview all 4.
I'm with you on that.
Maybe it'd only be 2. If there's only 2, I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying in
Well,
general.
I don't know if that would be acceptable, just 2, because I think you should have 3, to be
I agree.
honest with you. Well, that's my own opinion. I think you should have 3. If you don't, you should scrap it and start over again.
I would concur.
That's my opinion. But my question is this. Say if we have 3 at the end. So we interview 3 people. Do we need 5 or 6 councilors to approve one of them? 5 being a majority and 6 being 2/3. How many would that person need for votes?
You would just need a simple majority.
But you would need a simple majority.
Right.
I mean, and even if we didn't have 9 councilors that day, we only had 7, the person would still need 5 votes.
I don't believe so. I believe it would be a majority of those who were present.
Well,
So if you only had 7, you would only need 4.
I don't think that's
I
right.
would like to think that for that kind of
I don't think that's right, to be honest with you. I think you should have at least 5.
Oh, I understand
I
that.
think you should have 6, to be honest with you, but I mean, it should be a majority vote. Could you check with Attorney Capero on that?
Oh, of course. We'll be checking. And in fact, Councilor Carrasco is chair that committee has already or will be touching base with Attorney Capero on a number of procedural issues going forward, just to make sure we're doing things the way they need to be done, to make sure everything's uncovered. Additionally, just as a side note, I would like to think that I agree with you. You would want at least 5 or 6 that would be in support. Ideally, you'd have it pretty close, if not completely unanimous.
That's right.
I'm sure that the manager coming in would much prefer that kind of support.
That's correct.
But also, I would like to think that with such an important meeting, such an important decision, that barring extraordinary circumstances, each counselor would be in attendance.
If that final candidate only had 5 votes, there might be 3 or 4 people against them. It'd be hard to give them a contract.
Absolutely, that candidate may at that point not negotiate or choose not to accept.
Okay, you did a good job of answering it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other counselors or anybody else with questions, comments on this?
If I may add, this information will also be posted on Channel 13. It will be posted so those that watch our cable access can also submit their information that way.
Thank you. Moving on to agenda item number 5, Chairman's announcements. I have just a few, one of which I intended to kind of reference this when I mentioned Mr. DiGrigorio's passing, but just kind of slipped my mind at the moment. I just wanted to kind of note that Mr. DiGrigorio, who was a veteran of both World War II and Korea, and obviously spent a great many years as a local business owner. His family obviously is very well known, especially for their work both in the business community but philanthropically, in particular with that Christmas display. And those who know me know I'm kind of a big fan of quotes, and this is just one quote that I had seen that kind of made sense to me or resonated with me rather in reference to Mr. DiGrigorio, and it's a quote from Winston Churchill that we make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give, and I think Mr. DiGrigorio certainly embodied that. Additionally, the Traffic Commission is meeting tomorrow, September 23rd at 4 p.m. at the Police Department in the Community Room. And I only mention this because among the agenda items there is a parking situation at Cole Avenue that I know a number of people have had some big concerns about, and I want to make sure that those who are interested are able to have some notice of that. Also tomorrow, Harrington Hospital will be performing hydrant flow tests at approximately 9 p.m. to test operation and capacity of the fire pumps on the hospital grounds at 100 South Street. The Water Department has requested that during this period, customers check their water before washing clothes, and that customers may get accumulated sediments in their house laterals the next morning, Wednesday, and that this would clear after a brief run of water at the tap. I thought I had one more, but I don't seem to have it, so I will move on to number 6, Town Manager's announcements.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. 3 or 4 things here. First, the Southbridge Police Department is taking back unwanted prescription drugs on September 27th at the police department from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. On September 27th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. the Southbridge PD and the Drug Enforcement Administration will give the public its 9th opportunity in 4 years to prevent pill abuse and theft by ridding their homes of potentially dangerous, expired, unused, and unwanted prescription drugs. Bring your pills for disposal to the Southbridge Police Department. Note, the DEA cannot accept liquids or needles or sharps, only pills or patches. The service is free and anonymous, no questions asked. So again, that's September 27th. Any unused, unwanted pharmaceuticals can be brought to the police department and disposed of. Second item, there will be a household hazardous waste collection day conducted by Casella Waste Services on Saturday, September 27th, 2014, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. At the Casella Waste Services facility at 165 Barefoot Road across from the landfill. The event is open to Southbridge and Charlton residents only. No food or sanitary waste will be accepted, no commercial waste, and no latex-based paints. Folks can look on Southbridge Cable Access, Channel 12, for more information. But one other note, no pre-registration is necessary. Proof of residency will be required in the form of a driver's license or current utility bill. And there is a 10-gallon limit per household for paint and chemical wastes. So more information on Channel 12 on that. And finally, there excuse me, actually 2 items. There are quite a number of board and committee vacancies. I won't read the entire list, but if you would like to send an email to the town manager's executive assistant, Yvonne Tortis, at ytortis@southbridgemass.org. A complete list is available, and if people express an interest in what they might like, we will try to match you up to the committee that you'd be interested in, but we've got a lot of vacancies. And the last thing I wanted to let the council know about, many of you have spoken to me about the property at 133 West Street and the danger that that property represents to the public, and a number of citizens have called as well. It is number one on the list of properties to be demolished. It is a fairly cumbersome process that we have to go through involving an inspection, a condemnation order, a review by the Board of Survey, notification to the Commonwealth, a hazardous waste inspection, then a solicitation of demolition bids, and a solicitation of hazardous waste removal if there is asbestos on the property, and we found out that there is. So it has been a somewhat lengthy process, consuming about 4 or 5 weeks. But I'm very happy to let you know that on Thursday, we will be getting the quotes for removal of the asbestos. We have found asbestos on the property. And at that point, we'll be working with the bank, which is currently in the process of foreclosure, to determine whether the bank will demolish the property or the town will. But one way or the other, it will be going to be demolished. Probably, it will not be this week, and I don't think next week, because we've got to give the bank a reasonable few days to decide. But if the bank doesn't step up and do it, then the following week, I will order it demolished. And I just want to mention to the council again, I know there's been a lot of interest on the council's part. You've spoken to me on a number of occasions. There's a lot of angst on the part of the public about the danger of this property, and I wanted you and the public to be aware that we're taking this very seriously. It's been our number one priority, and I wanted to give a shout out to Nick Tortis, the building commissioner, and Andy Pelletier, the health director. They have both been working very, very hard to get this done, and believe me, it was a lot of work, but it'll be done very soon. And on that occasion, when we get ready to do the actual demolition, we will invite the council. We're hoping to do some press coverage, and this will be the kickoff of a program to do some other blighted buildings, we hope. So I wanted you and the public to be aware of that. It is close, finally, to happening. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Moving on to agenda item number 7, swearing in and presentations, the first of which is boards and committees with the Commission on Disabilities, and we'll have the chairwoman, Bonnie LaSavio, who will lead the way on that. And just as a note, as she makes her way up, this is something that is also, I think, a high priority for a lot of folks on the council, and I can attest that I've gone through a couple of these walks with this group, and there are a number of very serious issues that have been, for better or worse, ignored or swept under the rug, and things as that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for having us here this evening. We're pleased that we have an opportunity to come before you and present the issues that we've been struggling with for the past 2 years. But I wanted to give you a little bit more background information before we get to the compliance issues. We are a 7-member committee made up of myself, Barbara Cordell, Julie Hurley, who couldn't be here this evening, Leanne Pate, Michael Mulvey, Michael Marino, and Mark Cleveland. So we are, it sounds like, one of the few committees that is fully manned. So we're proud of that. We are tasked with providing a resource to members of the community who may have disabilities or who may have a family member with a disability who may be addressing compliance issues that they have been unsuccessful with themselves. So we try to be a resource for those individuals. That's our goal. Most of the issues that are brought to our attention have been with regard to accessibility, and that's either typically with the business, with snow removal. That's always an issue that we seem to struggle with each year. Each year, on a high note, I'm proud to announce that we give out a scholarship to a deserving high school senior from Southbridge. There are eligibility requirements surrounding the commission and our work. This year, we're hoping, in 2015 rather, we're hoping to expand that to non-traditional students as well. We do require an essay. They need to either be an individual with a disability, a family member with a disability, or an individual who's going into a field that works specifically with disabilities. We award the scholarship following the first successful completion of one semester and verification that they'll be returning to school the following year, or the following semester, I should say. We have worked with the local library. They were putting in a handicap curb or they were replacing a handicap curb. They asked if we would assist with that. Financially, we provided $500 towards that $100 project. That was in 2013. We've held a disabilities fair to educate the public and family members. We've held networking events for nonprofits, and we've invited nonprofits to come to our commission meetings to speak with us so that we'd be better educated about resources that are available to individuals in the community. So now I would like to direct your attention to the handouts that I provided to you regarding compliance issues, or issues rather regarding accessibility. A member of the community, Mike Murray, brought to our attention some issues that were regarding accessibility at the fields, Charlton Street and West Street fields. And when we went to those fields to view the issues at hand, we invited the town manager, Chris Clark at the time, and we've gone on 2 different walks, and both of the previous school superintendents joined us for those walks. However, we haven't seen a lot of results from those discussions. So the first, if we could look at the Charlton Street field issues first, that would be helpful. When we first went, and I know that Councilman Steves remembers this as well because he was with us, as was Councilman Moriarty. When we first went to the field, it was brought to our attention that they were inaccessible. The upper Charlton Street field was inaccessible because there was a chain across the entrance. So that issue was resolved, but the others have not yet been resolved. We have asked for some type of indication that there is handicap parking at both the upper and the mid parking areas. The parking lots were both repainted, but they never added the insignia for handicap parking. So that just seems like it should be an easy issue to address. So we hope that you will assist us with that project. Let's see, what else do we have? On this, if you go to number 3 of the Charlton Street photos, you'll see that we have a lovely playground for children to go to play at. However, the accessibility is blocked by a fence that is chained, so it's inaccessible to individuals with handicaps. If you had an individual with a walker or a wheelchair, that playground would be inaccessible to them, which is unacceptable as a community. If you look at the West Street field printout, the access to the lower field, or the side of the field, the first field, is now has tar, which is unevenly graded. So that would make it difficult for an individual who's trying to access the fields with, if they were, for example, to walk through with a walker, it would be very difficult for them to get through that area. Then the walkway itself is very narrow. If you go to the next page, there is, I'm not sure what the cap is for, but there's a cap that we had asked just to have that to be painted a brighter color, a yellow or an orange, something to make it stand out. That hasn't been taken care of either. But the real issue at this field is when you're trying to access the lower, what I always refer to as the field hockey area, the grade there is so uneven that it would really be an issue for someone trying to access that field. If they were trying to access it in a wheelchair or a walker, it would be very difficult. And it's just unsafe, and we certainly don't want to wait until there's a real issue and someone is hurt before we address these accessibility issues. And the final picture is of the porta potty because it is not handicapped accessible. So we would invite people if they have, we're holding on October 2nd. We've asked the director of the Architectural Access Board to come and speak to us here in Southbridge to provide us with education. This is going to be at our October 2nd meeting here in council chambers. It's open to the public. We certainly hope that we'll see representation from throughout the community at this event. We typically hold our monthly meetings the second Thursday, so we're holding it on that evening. As I said, we meet the second Thursday of the month. We certainly would encourage people to come to our meetings if they are available. We hold them in the Rice Conference Room at 6:30 p.m. If you have issues regarding accessibility, or if you have issues that you would like the Commission on Disabilities to assist you with, we encourage you to reach out to Yvonne Tortis, who will contact the Commission. Her number is 508-764-5405. We also have an email address, southbridgecod@gmail.com. We're on Facebook. We just need your input so we are made aware of issues that are in the community that are affecting you. The only other thing that I want to do is I'm going to turn it over to Leanne Pate in just one moment, but I wanted to mention that we wanted to extend appreciation to the town clerk's office and especially to Yvonne Tortis, who's been very supportive of the Commission on Disabilities, and to Nick Tortis, who has been a valuable resource for the Commission on Disabilities. Okay. Leanne?
Good evening. I would just like to point your attention to the flyers that I passed out to you earlier. It's a newsletter and a trifold information leaflet. The trifold is in English and Spanish, and it's just basic information about the Commission on Disability, kind of generic. And on the back side, there's phone numbers listed that are town numbers for people that can reference. So if they need to call town manager, I don't remember the numbers. I apologize, I did it a while ago. But it's basic information to put out there for them so they have it and they can keep that on their refrigerators. The second larger paper is a newsletter that we're starting. And it's just to give basic health information, like Bonnie pointed out earlier about shoveling sidewalks in the winter. We'll put that in our newsletter now. We're going to station them here at Town Hall. I'm going to place some at the school district with permission once I see the superintendent. And if you need it, I'm always out and about in town. Just tell me, and I'm sure I'll have them in my vehicle, and I can pass them out to you also. But I would like to mention, as a member of the Southbridge Sped Pack and a member of the Commission on Disabilities, I reached out to the Commission on Disabilities, and we're going to team up together. Because we service the same groups of people, except we focus on the children in the district, and as a Commission on Disabilities, we focus for the town on disabilities. So we're going to team up and hopefully work on some events together and everything. So any questions on the stuff? Oh, and I'm sorry, the bracelets. Those are bracelets we're promoting the COD with, and they're $2 a piece. And it's just to help raise some funds for our scholarships and just put out the word that we're here.
One other thing, in the past, we were able to rely on funds coming in through handicapped parking violations, but we simply don't receive as much kickback from that as we used to. So we're looking at other avenues. We're selling raffle tickets for baskets. We're selling the bracelets. We're just doing we're taking other steps to make sure that we're able to fund the scholarship for a local student.
Just quickly, I know with the presentation you gave in terms of Charlton Street and West Street, having gone on those walks a couple of times, I know there were other issues that for one reason or another probably are not on here. I know at Charlton Street there was a bridge that was of concern to an extent.
Mm-hmm.
Also at West Street there's disjointed sidewalks and berms that are a serious problem, not even just for someone with a disability, just anybody who's
Correct.
not paying enough attention. And a number of other things. So I just wanted to note that for October 2nd, a Thursday night, here, 6:30 to 8:30, for that compliance meeting or forum, aside from counselors who I would suggest and urge to attend. Same for the school committee and that department as well, because a lot of these are very, very serious issues that have potentially very, very serious ramifications that the town would own or the school department would own if we don't do what we should, in my opinion, have already done. So I just wanted to point that out. Councilor Manna?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. Thank you for your presentation, and thank you for these pictures. Looking at these pictures, especially at Charlton Street, I mean, not only the signs aren't there, Mrs. Lasavio did say that the handicap spots were painted, but you can barely see them, so...
They were not painted. The lines were painted, the handicap spots were not.
They were not painted, okay.
No.
I missed that part. So I think that's very, very important that we get that up there. I mean, it is a law, I believe, that we have handicap parking. And I don't understand why the gate would be locked for the Charlton Street playground up there. Is it locked during certain times of the day? Is this not a...
I stopped by yesterday afternoon and it was locked. It's been locked each time that I've gone, so I'm not sure when it's actually unlocked.
Is it a public playground for the kids? I mean, this is Charlton Street. Is it part of the school, or is it, no? Yes,
It's
no?
the first playground that you go to when you're entering the field area. It's on the left-hand side.
It is school property.
It's the school department's
It
playground.
is the school. So would it be up to the school to regulate that? Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Sure. Yep, I have the town manager, Council Clements and Council Steves. So, town manager?
Just a question, are these repairs scheduled on the capital budget or the operating, is there any plan that's in place to address this? I do apologize, this is the first time I've been made aware of this, and I'm hearing the council's concern. I'm hearing this is a very high priority for the council. So I would want to do something, but I don't know if there's a plan in process. It sounds like there isn't.
No.
Okay,
I was told that the town moves at a slow pace and I needed to be patient.
okay. Well, then I'll be talking to the council chair, and we'll see what we can get going, and I'll report back. And my apologies, but I'm hearing what the council is saying.
Councilor Clements?
Thank you. It would be my assumption, which I try not to do too often, but on the gates being locked, I would imagine it's because they don't want vehicles, perhaps at odd hours, being able to get through that accessibility gate. But if that's an accessibility gate for emergency vehicles, perhaps, who actually has the key would be my concern. If the fire department or police department or somebody doesn't have that key to get in with an ambulance, should a child fall and hurt themselves, it'll be much more difficult to, or any child or any adult who might be playing up there. Of course, so then you have to weigh, I wonder, they obviously must weigh the concern of, would vehicles open that gate and get in there and kids party, or do we leave it unlocked so that, so that we can make sure we're safe? I don't know how they answer that or what their logic would be school-wise, whoever made that decision, but certainly that's something that we should address, because from an emergency standpoint, there is little accessibility. Perhaps one oversized entrance gate scenario, like you have in most parks, that's a double for a vehicle, but on the other hand, as long as you can open and get in, would be the answer to a less costly answer than to, leaving us liable for openness, but yet having a one gate is not as expensive as
We understand the concerns, and we certainly don't want to see vandalism, but we just
Right.
want to make sure that it's accessible to all members of the community.
Right.
So, but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. I mean, I think we need to take this concern. Don't get me the wrong way on that one.
No, I
I
understand
agree
what you're
with
saying.
you. I think they just have to figure out who's making that decision and why it's locked versus accessible from a safety standpoint. So,
We will be taking another walk through following the training that we're going to go through on the 2nd, and we'll make the chair aware of when that's going to occur, and if anybody would like to join us, we'd be more than happy to have you.
but I think that answer, it's the school facility, so somebody needs to talk with the school to find out why.
They were part of both times
Okay.
when we went on our walks.
Yeah. Both the prior superintendent and the superintendent prior to that over the last 2 years or so.
But they still didn't answer why it's locked and who said to lock it. So that's a question.
Right.
All right, thank you.
Councilor Steves?
Thank you very much. I got a quick question. I don't know if this would be better to send to Ms. LoSavio or the town manager, but is this, you mentioned the concerns about liability for school property and town property. Is there a similar liability for sidewalks and those kinds of things? Is there a similar liability for sidewalks and roads and those kinds of access points?
Yeah, towns in general enjoy immunity under the Municipal Tort Claims Act. It's not universal, it's limited, it's not absolute liability, absolute absolution from liability.
Right.
But I think there's a more important issue here, irrespective of whether we're...
No, I agree, absolutely.
You know, and it's a social issue. It's doing the right thing.
Oh, I agree, absolutely.
Making our facilities accessible for all of our people.
I agree.
So I think good point, but I think it's the larger issue here is what's important.
No, I'm not arguing that we should be, absolving ourselves of doing these things. We definitely should be doing them.
Just another reason to add to what's the right thing to do.
Right, absolutely, absolutely. Also, I was wondering, you mentioned you were showing the pictures of these various grassy access points. Are some of the issues, if I remember correctly, were not even just, it wasn't just the gate as an issue, as the grass itself was an issue?
Right, it wasn't easily accessible.
Right.
Right, and some of the pathways that should have been wider were very narrow. Now they're grown in even more. So, yeah, it's an ongoing issue that we really need to take care of and move forward, so.
Has anybody actually looked at how much it would cost to do these things?
I'm sorry, I couldn't
Has anybody
hear you.
actually looked at how much it would cost to do these things?
I'm not sure. I can't answer that question. I know that it was brought to the DPW at one point, and their resolution was to put down some of the fine rock, I think it was, a
Right.
stone.
My recollection was our former town manager sat down and spoke with our DPW and the former superintendents, sat down with Mike Cuomo, and they discussed the options, and more or less our former manager came back and kind of said it would be far too costly to remedy most of these issues, and it would be just an overburdens of sorts. Was more or less the response, and that's kind of what led to him informing the COD that government works slowly, and
Okay.
that sort of response.
Yeah, okay. Also, what would you say your priorities are of these particular issues?
I think I'll be able to better, or the commission will be better able to prioritize once we meet with the AAB and really get some guidance from them.
Okay.
Do you agree?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else with questions, comments, concerns? Councilor Carrasco?
I just want to say thank you for representing a community that's not really represented all the time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, seeing none, thank you very much for your
Thank you.
help tonight. Just real quickly, I know we have another one, but quickly, it was reminded as to what thing I did forget, and that was that we have with us from the police department some representatives from the SWAT team that recently did quite well in competition, and I'll let Lieutenant Woodson get to unveil all that information.
All right. Good evening, Mr. Town Manager, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. It's a great pleasure for me to come here tonight and recognize the outstanding efforts of one of our police officers. To give you a little bit of background, Officer Fahey and one other police officer with our department are currently assigned to SEMLEC SWAT. It's an acronym for Central Massachusetts Law Enforcement Council. What that basically is, it's a regional SWAT team. They cover approximately 50 towns or so. Whenever there's a bad incident that goes on, barricaded suspect who's armed, our detectives doing a narcotics-related search warrant, and someone might be armed inside, these are the guys that come out. They're the ones that go out at night. They're the ones that go out in places that nobody else wants to go. They come out and do things that nobody really wants to do. I've got great admiration for Officer Fahey for what he does for our department. It's a great asset to have two of our officers represented with SEMLEC. With all that said, leads me to the SWAT Challenge. On August 19th, 20th, and 21st, the state of Connecticut does it's called an annual SWAT Challenge. It started in 2005 with the West Hartford Police Department. There's representatives from all over the country that attend this SWAT meet. Most of these guys, it's important to remember, and girls, they do this full time. They come from large agencies. They come from as far away as Canada to compete in this SWAT Challenge every single year. What it basically does is it measures their tactics, technique, fitness, shooting ability, and their overall teamwork. Our team, I'm proud to say, with Officer Fahey, this year finished third. Third out of, John, was it 26 teams? 28 teams, third out of 28. And all these other teams are all full-time, that's all they do. Huge police departments, they train every day, it's their job description. Our guys, I'm proud to say, they do it on their own time. They work 40 hours a week, at least with our department, and they do about 200 hours a year or so in training. That's not counting their annual in-service training, which goes from a week to 2 weeks. So with that said, I'd just like to congratulate Officer Fahey and the Semlec SWAT team for finishing third. If I might add, he does not want to be here tonight. We have to drag him here tonight. These kind of guys, they don't like to be recognized. They don't like their names in the paper. They're not like that. They're not SWAT guys. The town manager can appreciate that, being a military man. So we really had to drag him here. He's a lot bigger than I am, so it was tough to get him here. So, any questions or anything else?
Councilor Vecchia?
I have a question that doesn't pertain to this, about the police department. Can I ask it?
We can venture, at least.
All right. I was watching Channel 4, 5, and 7 this morning, and they mentioned Southbridge had a rape suspect on the loose, and I haven't heard anything about that.
An open investigation right now. I can't comment on that.
Well, does anybody have to worry about him coming in?
At this time, no. No. You don't have to worry about it.
Okay. So,
Okay. Mr. Town Manager?
I just wanted to mention to the council that I have some small familiarity with what the SWAT folks do, CQB, close quarters combat, and it really depends to reach a level of excellence, constant drilling, an enormous amount of practice, and a tremendous amount of devotion to doing this. For our ladies and gentlemen on our team who are able to place third in a national competition, doing this basically part-time on their own time up against full-time teams who do this constantly, believe me, that is a remarkable achievement. That is absolutely a remarkable achievement, and that's really very noteworthy.
Thank you. Anything else?
Any other questions or comments? Thank you, and congratulations. We also have with us as part of both Emergency Preparedness Month, but also because we recently had a use of the reverse 911 system. So to kind of give us a little brief bit of information about that, we have Chief DeFranzo and Firefighter Larachelle.
Give me one moment here. All right, good evening. Thank you, councilors, for inviting us here to talk again about our alert system here in the town of Southbridge. We did have an activation on a informational bulletin about the water quality. We did send a test message. Well, the message went out. There were a couple of issues with how the message went out. We got many phone calls from people that got the message, well, got an answering machine or a caller ID, wanting to know what the message was, so we certainly repeated the message that we had. And then there were I got at least one complaint that they never got a phone call. So we've been working with Everbridge to resolve that issue and understand what happened with this particular notification. Best that we can get is that Verizon was overwhelmed for some particular reason. So we have to learn how to better, and I'll use Everbridge terms, throttle the way the message goes out. So we have to work on some of our throttling capabilities on how much volume we put into the system. But we also learned, and again, when we talked about the system, and Firefighter Larachelle will certainly go through it one more time, if you only have been put into the system by default via the white pages or the yellow pages, you're only going to get notified one way. So if that one way has a problem, and given today's technology and problems that occur, we can't guarantee 100% that you're going to get the message. So we would encourage everyone to use the citizen portal, which you can access through the town's website, which Firefighter Larachelle will go through, and add any additional ways that you or whoever you want to get that information, whether you want it on your cell phone, whether you want a text message, whether you want an email. And then also it gives you options on if there are other properties, such, we have business owners that may own a business on one side of town and they live on the other. Well, you may want to know about 2 pieces of property here in our community, not just one. So we encourage you to go in, and I'll have firefighter Roland Lauer, she'll go through the process real quick, and then we'll answer any other questions you may have. So.
Some brief changes, because as everybody should know by now, the town's website has changed. Try to briefly go through this. Anything, I can't stress enough, anything, this is your installation. The citizen signs in, this is with your username, your password. None of the information, it's kind of small, none of the information will ever be sold, even if the town elects not to re-up with this company after its contract life has expired. We keep the information, they do not sell it. As administrators of the system, we cannot go in and change your information. That's yours. So it's vital that the citizens sign in and opt in. It's like a fail-safe. The new town website. Last time we gave this presentation, it was the old website. The new town website, there's a portal for citizen alert. That's all you have to do is click onto that, and it brings you right to the Everbridge system. Once you've clicked on that, there's a login page, which, like any other computer program, you sign in your username, you put your password, you confirm your password. Once you've been in there, they'll ask you for your demographics, your full name. I would encourage people to use middle initials. My father and I have the same first and last name, so middle initials are very important on tracking the right people in the right neighborhoods. It's very easy to do, and again, it's secure. You will end up with again, confirming the password. It asks you several times. This is your password. Unless you give it out, nobody will have it. It will ask, you will have a choice of security questions that you can pick. What's your favorite pet? What was your first car? Things of that nature that you can use to access it for a security issue. Under the profile, again, your username, your name, your middle initial, very easy. In an email, what they want for the email is if they have to ask you any questions or send you any information pertaining to your profile. That's all it's used for. You will not get any spam or this sales things. It's only for this company on information. And again, if you forget your password, as we all have, it'll ask you forgot password, and they will give you a new password so you can access it through that email address. How to contact me. This is the important thing, as the chief said. You can be contacted by many, many different, 5 or 6 different areas. A primary phone, a secondary phone, an email, a text message. If you elect a text message, do not forget to put in your cell phone number. There's 2 areas. Do I want my cell phone to ring? Do I want my cell phone to get a text? Because we all have different alert statuses when we're busy in meetings on how these devices prompt. What's in the system now, unless you opt into the portal, is the white pages or the yellow pages. If you only have a cell phone, you're not in the system. If you have an unlisted number, you're not in the system. So we will have no way to access you. So by signing in and having these different, and you will see when you go into this, you can have an ascending list. Which one do I want first? Which one do I want second? If you put 5 different types of access points, the minute the system has confirmed that you had answered the first one, it stops. So you're not going to be bugged. You're sitting in a meeting and you get a text and you hit 1 for reply, it stops. So it tries not to overload the system. Location name. This can be your business, this can be your home. If it's your house, put home. And it's very critical, especially when it comes to business, because the company is putting what they call a corral. So if you're putting your home and your address is in another town, you're going to be kicked out. If you live out of town and you want to watch a business, put that business address and that business phone number. If you have relatives and you live out of town and there's relatives, you've got to put that address. You can't put your home address that lives out of town because it might kick you out. So we want to make sure if there's an incident in our location, in our jurisdiction, that the notifications go out. Once you've done inputting this information, you hit verify the address, and what it does is it brings it up on a map. This one I put 41 Elm Street, so it brings it up on the map. Is this the right location? If it pins the wrong location, say no, and you can adjust it. When it is the correct location, the blue tab at the bottom states this is my location, hit it, and it locks you in. We can notify by phone number. We can also draw pictures on a map and notify by a plot or a diagram that we make on a map. So it's also critical that your address on the map is correct. Under My Locations, it'll tell you what the location you put in. It gives you an addition to add another location. Myself, I can put my work location as a second location with that address. I have my parents, for example, so if anything happens in their neighborhood, I can be out of town and I will get a call that there's a situation going on there. This is very important for business. A lot of the businesses on a holiday weekend, the Yellow Pages is there, so the phone call will go to the business, but there's nobody there to answer. So it will be critical that responsible party for businesses in town have their profile under that business address. The other situation that we found out is the hospital, for example. There is nothing on the map for the hospital or the medical arts because the mainframe of their phone system is on Pine Street. So anything that you want to send out to Harrington Hospital all goes to the Pine Street address. So it's been discussed with them, and there's some tweaking that they have to do to set up on the map. Under the community alerts, there's different ways that you can be alerted. There's community alerts and there's special needs that we've added, and that's information that we want to gather. On the community alerts, what alerts would you like to receive? There are 9 of them. If you want to scroll through the alerts, you can scroll through. If not, you can hit the skip button. But these alerts, as what's listed, law enforcement, traffic information, weather-related alerts, and emergencies. We push out an emergency, it doesn't matter which one you pick, it's going to go. Sometimes you might want the weather, and we all know you can have 6, 7 severe thunderstorm warnings in a half an hour. You can opt out of it if you don't want to hear it anymore, but you will still get the emergency. The special needs alert, we have 4 of them that we've inputted. So when somebody inputs their special needs, as far as if you're confined to a wheelchair, if you're oxygen dependent, if you need refrigerated medicine, this really helps us in case of an emergency. Who do we have to go to first, and who can we have a little grace period. If this doesn't apply to you, hit skip this and you go to the next one. The review simply does that. It reviews the whole process. You can make changes, you can edit. This is yours. You can go back at any time. You get a new phone number, you can do it. Then you hit finished, and it will review all the different sections you can edit by section. It is not difficult, and it's very, very important that people opt in by any means. This is the day of electronics. We need to get the word out. Even if you're at work out of town, if something happens in your neighborhood, you'll get a phone call or an email or whichever method you wish. We do hope that, and I want to say, if you have family, friends that are not English speaking, we have looked at many companies and we did not trust the programs that they had to convert English to another language. It was not trustworthy. So one of the situations that we really want to push is that if you have a non-English speaking friend or relative, add them to your address of interest. Nana doesn't speak English. If a call goes to her neighborhood, you also get a phone call. You can help translate that message. That's about the easiest way that we've come up with, because the translation things on the computers, we want it translated word for word. And it doesn't translate from English to some of these other languages, and it does the opposite, so that gets dangerous. We do plan, and we'll speak to the chairman to bring it up at the next meeting and put it on the scroll with the cable access channel. We plan on having for lack of a better term, a couple open houses where citizens can go either to the library, and we'll make this known, or the senior center, where we'll assist them if they have some trouble with the computer or don't have a computer. We'll have the computers available, and we'll walk them step by step to make sure they get in any way possible. Questions?
Councilor Clements?
Just curious, because when I was away, I did not get that alert. Well, there was no message left on my phone. Does the system recognize answering machines and leave a message? Because many political people do, so, with robocalls.
There is a question right now on the system that the chief's been working with the IT people. The company tells you one thing and it's questionable. If you have a block, there's a question if that will let it through. If you have an answering machine that says, press 1 to leave a message, it's a computer and it won't do it.
Right. Yeah, no, just generic,
So-
leave a message after the beep.
I don't know what to give you for an answer on that.
Okay.
If, once you walked in, you would get that. If it didn't recognize your answer machine, then it would go to your text or your email,
Right.
or whichever one that's why it's critical that if you have these avenues of getting contacted. I know one gentleman that talked to the chief that didn't leave a message on his answering machine. So there's some question about that electronic talking to this electronic.
Okay, just curious.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Councilor Manna?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. I really love this program. I did get the text message. I was like, oh. But you need to get this out there in the community more, is what I'm hearing. And I think I mentioned this a couple times before. I think this would be a really good opportunity to get your CERT team in the area together and maybe do a push out in the neighborhoods. That's just a suggestion from me.
I didn't forget the last time we spoke on that. We wanted to make sure, this was really the first time that we pushed this out community-wide. You've also got to be careful on overburdening, because people get fed up and shut it off. So there's a few things that we had to get fixed, like the caller ID, because we all know, we get it now, what happens? Unavailable, what do? Click, forget it, because there's too much of that stuff going on today. So we've got a Southbridge number on it now that will come up. So there was coming to some of these fine points that we wanted to make sure, so that when we had people that were having a hard time with this, we had the answers. So I know it takes a little bit, takes a lot longer than we wished, but like the chairman eloquently always says, government kind of works slow. But we want to make sure we get our ducks in a row and we have the answers when we roll this out to get the public going. But you'll be getting a phone call for CERT, that's for sure.
Thank you.
Councilor Carrasco?
Yes, I just want to reiterate the words that you said, because I received 4 alerts. At my place of work, my personal cell, my home, and my email. So that's just the way that I have the system set up.
Yep.
Because if I'm away, somebody's at home, whatever, I want to be able to get that. So I just want to reiterate that it's important that you select those options, because it does work. I did get a message on my cell phone, and I have to say I did ignore that phone call. So
You didn't what?
I ignored the phone call.
Okay.
And it did go through. So I just
I was
wanted
going to say, you allowed it to go through the full system. And usually on the calls, when it'll ask you, press 1 to confirm. And the minute you did that, which was good that you allowed it to go through all your methods to check it, press 1 to confirm, it stops there, because you've told the system, I got your message. And at that point, it will stop. So you wouldn't have got all 4. But it's a good test to let it go through to all, whichever ones you put in, to make sure it works. It's a piece of electronic, they're great when they work.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, I just wanted to thank the both of you for coming up and especially for making sure that people are aware of this and hopefully more and more people are able to take advantage of it to try and...
I will say for those people that, may not have, those in the audience, if you have a question, we have a specific email address that you can point your questions towards. It's alerts@southbridgemass.org. So if anybody has a question, certainly email us and we will get an answer for you. So alerts@southbridgemass.org.
Thank you. Moving on to agenda item number 8, we have citizens forum. If we have any citizens here that would like to speak on something that is not on tonight's agenda, just please step forward and state your name and address, please.
Good evening, Roger Cohen, 82 Taylor Avenue. I'm a member of the St. Vincent, not St. Vincent Paul, but I'm a St. Vincent de Paul food drive. I'm a worker at the food pantry, and we have our annual drive this coming weekend. Bags were distributed this past weekend at all masses at Notre Dame Church. And we also, the reason why I'm here is to approach the citizens of Southbridge that don't purchase the paper, they don't know, and they won't purchase paper and are unable to get the information regards to this food drive, because that's why. And the thing is, this here is very, very important food drive, and it helps all the Southbridge community and all the Sturbridge as well, and especially people in dire need of food. Emergency needs where they're down to the last dollar and they don't know where they're going to get the next meal. That's how important it is. And I have a list of items that people could contribute to the food drive if they wish to do so. And we also serve 300 families or 780 people from the town of Southbridge, Sturbridge each month. Each month, our senior supplement program helps the average of 112 seniors by providing them an extra to get on a fixed income. Families may access our food pantry once a month as needed. Our goal is to provide weekly worth of food for a family each month. Our current operation budget is more than $57,000. More than 70 volunteers help us in our Client's Choice of food pantry located in the basement of St. John Paul's Parish Center. Our food pantry is an ecumenical effort of St. John Paul II Parish, and area congregations include Elm Street Congregation Church, Holy Trinity Episcopal Church, and Sturbridge Federated Church. You can help by filling up this bag with groceries. As a child, service project among family, relatives, and neighbors. Have children create a fundraising project to use the funds on their own shopping trip. Bring it back to work and ask a co-worker to donate 1 or 2 items. We accept as many bags as you can fill. Place the bag that is assigned a prominent place at our business, and a gathering place. Encourage people to donate on their own. And the thing is, now that we're having this food drive this coming week, people at St. Notre Dame Church will be dropping all their staple foods at all masses this coming Sunday. But this year, I have extra bags here. This is for people that don't belong to any congregation or any church that would want to participate in this food drive. And this here was greatly appreciated for all people that really need us here. And I would ask, if it's possible, I could pass these out to the councilors if you want to participate in this food drive.
Just quickly, in passing notes with the manager, by all means, we'd love to be able to have a number of the bags available here at Town Hall so people can come and go and make donations for the food drive, even here at Town Hall, aside from just the counselors and their own personal pantries and such. And also just, too, that obviously Thanksgiving is only 2 months away, and a lot of families in town don't exactly get that Norman Rockwell Thanksgiving that everybody else kind of dreams for. So by all means, Mr. Cowett, I think it'd be great to pass those out, and any and all that you can leave with us, we'll, through the town manager's office, leave here at Town Hall as well.
Okay, and if anybody, the food pantry serves food to people on Tuesday afternoon from 2 to 4 p.m. I mean, 3 to 5 p.m. on Tuesday afternoons. On Thursdays, they serve from 10 to 12 o'clock noontime. And second and fourth Wednesday of the month, we serve from 9:30 to 12 o'clock to senior citizens. In this past week, we had over 60 families that came down for food. Now, this is a very, very important thing. We help out communities. We also have different supermarkets, like BJ's helps out, gives us food. Stop and Shop gives us food. And we were able to pass this on to the people that really, really need it. So any contribution we'd greatly accept it. The only thing we cannot accept is any unsealed package or unlabeled package, because we can't distribute it to anybody else. So anything that's open, we cannot accept, or it's not properly labeled, that's all. Thank you very much.
Sure. No problem.
Oh, jeez, I thought you were going to serve us, Roger.
We'll have some, and I'll leave these here for now, and then any counselors who want to grab some, or even anyone in the audience if you're so inclined. I'll be the bag man. Okay. Do we have any other citizens who'd like to come forward? We do.
Good evening, Mike Murray, 26 Lynn Lane. I'd like to thank the council for having both presentations tonight. These are two areas that have been on my radar for 3 years. So I'd like to confirm what the chairman said about government moving slow and the obstacle being money. That's accurate. And I would remind you that money is compliance, money is liability, and money is our reputation. So, and none of that, success in any of these areas has to come with work. So I see work being done now, and that pleases me. With the reverse 911 system, I stood before this council 4 days after the tornado, and I asked the question, do we have one? And I think that was the beginning of this program. Since then, a lot of work has gone into it, and as we've heard tonight, a little more has to be done. But one thing I did not hear tonight is the reluctancy to use the program. And while the program exists and it cannot be overused, and I agree with that, with the water situation, we should have been notified long before we were. 5 days after a mechanical failure, we get notified that the water is safe to drink. Well, some of us who actually received the calls, because I was the one, much like Councilor Clemens, who did not get a message on their answering machine. So I think that communication about the trust and confidence of our public water supply, although it may have been up to the water supply company to make that determination, should have come forward. And while we're reviewing the system, I think we need to take a harder look at what the system needs to be for the citizens of Southbridge versus the emergency management people as well. It has to work for both. So if we can say we have a mechanical problem, we're dealing with it, we have people working 24/7, we're doing all the right things, which is what I found out through the only viable communication for the water department or the town, an answering service personnel for the water department. Is that how we're going to communicate these days? I hope not. It should have been used. It was a prime time to say, we had a problem, we're on it, everything's fine. That's what I think the people want to hear from this system. There's a better use of the system. Don't overuse it, but let's use it to communicate, to say, we have good people in good positions doing good work, and you're okay. So, again, the Disability Commission has some issues. They're long-standing. The emergency system's being worked on and reviewed. And hopefully, I'd like to introduce a third issue to you tonight, pavement management. Our roads. Yeah, they're going to take some money to fix. But if we were to spend anything, forget, master plan this old plan that, you're going to spend money, let's put the money where the people use it the most, on our roads. Let's have a review system. Let's say we can fix this road with crack and seal program. We've changed personnel. Our former superintendent, Tom Daly, had a program. He wanted to introduce it. It didn't get funded. It didn't happen. Our roads deteriorated. We have new personnel. We have new town managers. We have good ideas, and we have turnover. I hope that a pavement management system can also be on this town's radar, because a lot of good ideas, but to be successful, it takes a lot of work. And I leave that up to you. And I remind you, the only place you'll find success before work is in the dictionary. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Cummings?
I just wanted to clarify, reverse 911, I believe Heather Blakely had mentioned was used on Saturday, not on Friday, wasn't that?
No, it came out Monday.
Did it only come out on Monday? I could have sworn she said they decided to do it over the weekend.
Monday afternoon.
Okay, for some reason I thought it was over the weekend. Okay, thank you.
Any other
But it
questions?
definitely needs to be used.
Thank you. Any other citizens who'd like to come forward? One more time? Okay. Seeing none? Move on to agenda item number 9, and thank you for the patience that they've shown so far. Vote to confirm the appointment of the following 6 individuals to the Southbridge Auxiliary Police for a 3-year term effective immediately through June 30th, 2017. Those are Jason Bouchard of Southbridge, Mass., Derek DeRusso of Sutton, Rocky Ducktan of Worcester, Ryan Matt of Worcester, John Mulcahy of Stafford Springs, Connecticut, and David Stanger, Jr. of Southbridge, Mass.
So moved. Second.
Second.
Okay. Lieutenant Woodson?
Hi again. Just to go over quickly, each of the gentlemen before you has completed the required training at the Reserve Intimate Academy. Each of the gentlemen has incurred all the costs on their own, thousands of dollars of equipment, training, hours, time spent away from work completing this voluntary training. They're ready to go on the street and be trained by us, and we look forward to having them.
Any questions or comments from council or anybody else? Councilor Vecchia?
Could you introduce them to us, please?
Sure. Jason Bouchard, Derek, and this is going to be difficult, Des Russo, if that's correct, Rocky Duckton, David Stanger, Ryan Matty, and Sergeant John Mulcahy is retired with our department. He could not be here tonight, so that'd be the 6.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. Seeing none, a roll call, please.
Councilor Clements?
Yes.
Councilor Estrada?
Yes.
Councilor Manna?
Yes.
Councilor Moriarty?
Yes.
Councilor Peliquin?
Yes.
Councilor Steves?
Yes.
Councilor Vandal?
Yes.
Councilor Vecchia?
Yes.
Councilor Krasko?
Yes.
9 yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. Congratulations.
Good luck. Good luck. Good luck. Good luck.
Nobody knocked over that.
They're good. This group's good.
Agenda item number 10, vote to ratify Stantec's change order number 1 in the amount of $67,385.54 for reconstruction Phase 2 Southbridge Municipal Airport, and to appropriate said amount from the receipt reserves account number 6901 to the airport damage account 9085 to fund the change.
So move.
Second.
Any questions, discussion? Councilor Vecchia.
Thank you. To the chairman, to the town manager, this Southbridge Municipal Airport, I see here, I got one page here, 9/15, since mid-July, no fuel has been sold. There was a loss of 5,600 gallons. And then a couple pages later,
I think if it helps, that's the next agenda
That's,
item.
yeah, that's the
That's
next
fuel
agenda.
farm.
item.
okay, sorry.
All set for
Sorry,
now?
because it's airport. Okay, it's the
Right.
same
It's
the
thing in
next
the airport. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I'm all set.
No problem. Any other questions or comments on this particular agenda item?
I reiterate, it's insurance money. It's going from one account to another. The costs are incurred based on the reconstruction and increased construction that will happen at our terminal. It will be made bigger from 1,200 square feet to over 3,000 square feet. So change amount for the plans to be redesigned and reworked out of insurance money. Thanks.
Anybody else? Councilor Steves?
Yeah, I just have a quick comment, is that I'm going to support this, but if anybody read the column that I wrote last weekend, I was kind of venting on it, and this is an issue that I think we really need to look at in the long term. I don't know if this is something we could do at this level, or if we need to push our legislature to do it, but the funding, the way these kinds of projects end up using so much more taxpayers' money than they should, is kind of ridiculous. I understand this is in this case it's insurance money, and it's not an issue that probably we can deal with today, but in the long term we need to, because that's where all the taxpayers' money is going that we can't control at this point. Just for a future concept.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Anybody else? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Councilor Estrada?
Yes.
Councilor Manna?
Yes.
Councilor Moriarty?
Yes.
Councilor Peliquin?
Yes.
Councilor Steves?
Yes.
Councilor Vandal?
Yes.
Councilor Vecchia?
Yes.
Councilor Crasco?
Yes.
Councilor Clements?
Yes.
9 yes.
Motion carries. Agenda item number 11, vote to appropriate $30,000 from the landfill royalty receipts reserved account number 6790 to the fiscal year 15 airport capital projects account to fund the new airport fuel farm system.
So moved.
Second.
I'll start briefly with the town manager to explain this.
I think, as the council is aware, the fuel pump facility at the airport has not been in operation for some time now for quite a variety of reasons. Unfortunately, this is a lost opportunity because of the lack of availability for aircraft fuel. When people stop at airports, the availability of fuel provides a lucrative opportunity to make revenue which stays in the revolving fund for the airport. Unfortunately, and by the way, we have forecasted the availability of that revenue as part of balancing the airport budget this year. So it's kind of imperative that we get this facility repaired, back online, and begin to sell fuel, because that's the single largest cost center for what funds operations. The Airport Commission and the airport director have put together an excellent plan, and they've come forward with it. Subcommittee considered it, and I think there's unanimous agreement that the plan makes good sense. The cost is about $30,000, and that provides a small amount of money for contingencies to do the work. It's been it's not a bid project, but it is one where competitive solicitations have been made. Unfortunately, the number of companies that do this kind of work is very, very limited. The finance plan, initially, what we wanted to do, because the airport is funded by a revolving account, means they can only spend what they bring in. Because we've only got less than a year of history with this new funding mechanism for the airport, and most of that year does not include any fuel sales, we really don't have a representative year of financing to be able to say with certainty that by June 30th of this year, we would have collected $30,000 in fuel sales. Now, it's possible we might, but it's equally as possible that we won't. What we can say with absolute assuredness is that sometime over the course of the next 18-odd months, we will collect $30,000 in fuel sales. So rather than put the appropriation through the revolving fund itself, because when the year ends, if the fund has a deficit, we're required to report it to the assessors to raise off the following year's taxation. What we're doing is we're using available revenue from the landfill royalty receipts account, which has plenty of money in it, and then as after the repair is made, as money comes in, we will reimburse the royalty, landfill royalty receipts account. So there's no real exposure or risk here to the taxpayers. The money will be paid back. But since we can't tell exactly when that payback is going to occur, we're basically going to take it out of this pocket, collect it, and then put it back in that pocket later. So it's a pretty simple thing. And I won't speak for the subcommittee chair, who I think will offer some kind of comment, but I guess I've probably stolen your thunder by now, haven't I? But,
I found one.
Okay. Councilor Vecchia?
I have two questions. The minor one, the first one, I have this brochure here. On one page, it says, airport requirements. Since July, no fuel has been sold. There was a loss of 5,600 gallons. Then a couple pages later, I have the same report, and it says the loss is 5,000 gallons. So I don't get it. It's the same wording with just one page says 5,600 gallon loss, the other page says $5,000 gallon loss. I got 2 pages.
Quite possibly a typo, because the monthly loss is probably somewhere between 3,000 and 5,000 gallons. It's unfortunately, again, because we don't have lengthy history with the facility. As you know, prior to this year, it was operated on a turnkey lease basis, and we don't have access to those numbers. So we're estimating the revenues as best we can, and I think that's just a typo.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, my major question was, and you made a comment about it saying we had plenty of money left. It says, vote to appropriate $30,000 from the landfill royalty receipts reserved account. I'd like to know approximately how much money do we have in that royalty receipts reserved account?
I cannot tell you off the top of my head, but I'll be happy to get back to you. But
Just put it in my packet for Thursday would be fine.
Sure.
Okay, thank you very much.
Council comments?
Thank you. I think the acting town manager has done a great job in the overview of the money issue and what the Airport Commission came to the General Government Committee meeting and expressed, and did a very good job in giving us lots of detail. I see where Councilor Vector was mentioning loss over 5,600, over here loss over 5,000. I think that's a bit of semantics. I know that they used over 5,600, the air flight school alone used over 5,600 gallons, and therefore that's a loss because we didn't sell them any of that gas. One of the things that wasn't mentioned that's really important that we were told about was that we originally put that fuel system in using FAA and Mass DOT money, and because of that, we are required to sell fuel, to have fuel available to airmen at all times. Unfortunately, that's not been the case because of the situation that we have there. So we now, the airport manager files a NOTAM, N-O-T-A-M, which means Notice to Airmen, and that states that our fuel facility is shut down. And as was mentioned, the danger to that is that, as we were told, a traveling plane might stop, not realizing there was a notice out there, and because his chart says we have fuel, since we were funded for a fuel station at one time, years ago, 30 years or so ago, and there is no fuel. So now he has no fuel to get to where he needs to be, or he's waited to get, or she has waited to get fuel to our stop, and that puts them dangerously low in danger of crashing, obviously, because they have no fuel. So we don't want that to happen, obviously. It's a very serious situation. More serious, I think, too, for us is the fact that we are in noncompliance again with FAA and the Mass DOT. So we certainly need to mind the store, we took a vote of, I guess we called it unanimity, perhaps, in terms of wanting to, or consensus, that we wanted to keep the airport open, that we realize it's a valuable asset and has much potential in the future for our community. And being such, we have to mind the store. We have to make sure that we continue to enhance it and get all the revenue possible to secure its long-range goals. So I think the Airport Commission, I applaud them for the job they did at the meeting, and I thank our manager Pecos for finding some funding so we can get this done prior to the new terminal going in next year. Thank you.
Councilor Manna?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. I would like to also thank the Airport Commission and the town manager for working hard on this. And to me, it's a no-brainer. I mean, you're putting in that credit card reader. It's not being manned. There's no cash involved. We're getting 85 cents, did they say, for every dollar?
Net.
We're netting.
We're netting.
Gross is a little
Okay.
more, that's the net.
Okay. So, I mean, it does appear that we're going to get that money back rather quickly.
It's pretty much a certainty, yes.
So, I mean, and it's at no cost to the taxpayer. So I will fully support this. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Counselor Manna?
Yes.
Counselor Moriarty?
Yes.
Counselor Peliquin?
Yes.
Counselor Steves?
Yes.
Counselor Vandal?
Yes.
Counselor Vecchia?
Yes.
Counselor Crosco?
Yes.
Counselor Clements?
Yes.
Counselor Estrada?
Yes.
9 yes.
Motion carries. Moving on to agenda item number 12, vote to ratify the amendments to Section 4 and 4A of the Town Council rules as indicated in red on the attached document, which we have here. Just as a note, wait till we have a motion in a second.
So moved.
Second.
Just as a note quickly, the only changes apply to section, in Rule 4, it deletes a few things, but more or less just changes it to read that non-council members shall be appointed to subcommittee in accordance with Section 2-4-4 of the Home Rule Charter. And on the back, it just kind of references council chair versus subcommittee, et cetera, et cetera. So, any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Counselor Moriarty?
Yes.
Counselor Peliquin?
Yes.
Counselor Steves?
Yes.
Counselor Vandal?
Yes.
Counselor Vecchia?
Yes.
Counselor Crosco?
Yes.
Counselor Clements?
Yes.
Counselor Estrada?
Yes.
Counselor Manna?
Yes.
9 yes.
Motion carries. Agenda item number 13, vote to approve the zoning bylaw amendment for the keeping of livestock on less than 5 acres as recommended by the planning board. This will be the third and final reading.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I'll just quickly go through that reading just to get that over with. A new definition, section 300.451, livestock on less than 5 acres. The keeping of animals on less than 5 acres, whether for gainful purposes or not, includes chickens, turkeys, ducks, cows, goats, sheep, alpaca, llamas, donkeys, burros, and mules, wild rabbits, and emu, and excludes roosters, pigs, geese, bulls, and oxen. This definition does not include pets such as interior caged birds, cats, dogs, pot-bellied pigs, domesticated rabbits, gerbils, hamsters, caged mice, and guinea pigs. Livestock on less than 5 acres standards. A, the resident must have a permit from the Board of Health. B, the animals must be kept at least 25 feet from the adjacent lots. C, the animals must have appropriate housing and protection for every season. D, no roosters, geese, pigs, bulls, or oxen are permitted. E, animals must be kept within a fenced area on a non-street facing sides of the subject lot. F, a noise plan must be provided. G, a waste plan must be provided. H, a feed storage plan must be provided. And I, the number of animals allowed will be determined through the special permit process. 2, a new section 502.68 in the table of use regulations, proposed new section 502.68 refers to so the agricultural use, livestock on less than 5 acres, the keeping of animals on less than 5 acres, whether for gainful purposes or not, must comply with standards, and see definition with standards. And again, I'll try to see if I can remember each of these abbreviations. Single family is special permit. Two-family would not be allowed, multifamily would not be allowed, retail business would not be allowed. General business would be special permit, light industrial would be special permit, as would heavy industrial. The business opportunity district, the one I always forget, is the special permit as well, and the central core, it would not be allowed.
100%.
Yeah, batting 1,000 today. Okay,
So moved.
we already had the motion.
Oh,
so.
we did.
Any other questions, comments, or concerns?
Just one. When this is done, get your permits, because I believe we'll be enforcing the new bylaw. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments, or concerns?
And again, as I have in the last couple of meetings, I'm going to be abstaining from this one because of the town attorney's recommendations.
Just wanted to note for the council's attention, I think the appreciation of all the people who worked on this, and probably the planning board, who worked very, very hard to research this with the planner, and not to leave out the subcommittee of this council, both the council members and the citizen members who worked very, very hard on a couple of occasions to finally bring this to fruition. And although the discussion became sometimes quite animated, hopefully now that it's done, no one's feathers were overly ruffled.
I tried to avoid it. Glad somebody didn't. Anybody else? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Counselor Peliquin?
Yes.
Counselor Steves?
Abstain.
Abstain. Counselor Vandal?
Yes.
Counselor Vecchia?
Yes.
Counselor Krasko?
Yes.
Counselor Clemens?
Yes.
Counselor Estrada?
Yes.
Counselor Manna?
Yes.
Counselor Moriarty?
Yes.
8 yes, 1 abstain.
Motion carries. Moving on to agenda item number 14, Councilor's Forum, and we'll start with Councilor Vandal.
Thank you. I'd like to know how many citations were issued this summer on the dogs, the pooper scooper law. I was wondering how many people were, cited for not. And then on the motorcycles, there was a certain decibels they were supposed to have. They weren't supposed to have any loud piped motorcycles. I was wondering how many got cited there. And then radios, loud noise throughout town. I sat on Main Street a few times waiting for, my wife, and the cars going by, the radios were full blast. Where were the police? And the last thing I have is Woodstock Road, the new road on Woodstock Road at the bottom, where you have that big mound of dirt. They made whatever they made out of it. Going up Woodstock Road, right around that corner, you've got weeds 3 feet tall. Who's responsible for that, the state or the town? I was told the state in the beginning, who's going to take care of the grass and all that. And I was told the state. I wondered if we could follow true on that. And whoever it is, maybe we could get them up there to, do some work up there. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Vecchia?
Yeah, I'd just like to take a moment to state that we've been here for 3 months now into this new council, and I think the leadership of the town manager, the chair, and the vice chair have been very helpful and very good. You don't see us arguing. You've seen a lot of councils, you saw a lot of arguments. You don't see it up here. We have leaders. When I first got on the council this time, I stated that my goal was to lower taxes, and I think you'll see this council putting the people first to lower taxes. Thank you very much.
Councilor Steves?
Thanks. I have a couple of quick things. One is that I was talking to somebody at some length on Main Street a couple of days ago, and it actually, interestingly, it was coincidentally tied into part of your town manager's report for this week, the very last entry talking about the Cycle 2 shutoffs for the water department. They were suggesting, and I think this is something I would love to see us look into, is, I don't know if this would require a bylaw alteration or something, to limit the fees for water and sewer leaks to the maximum that they've paid in some sort of reasonable time frame. Because you see some of these lists here, and I can admit, I don't know if maybe you can answer this question, how many of these that were listed here are accidents or leaks? How do they compare to the same people's highest and average bills? we've got a list here of some people getting tagged with $830, $774, $915, $966. I mean, these are huge sums of water usage, and I'm
not sure I understand the question, I'm sorry.
Okay. The conversation I was having on Main Street a couple days ago was concerned about getting gigantic bills for water leakage. And it took them like a week and a half to figure out what the problem was, and they got a $1,000 plus bill to fix the problem. And so he said that he had gone to the town to propose actually being willing to pay the highest amount that they had paid in the last 5 years or whatever it was. And that seemed reasonable to me. I mean, granted, I wasn't there at the time, so I wasn't sure exactly what the exact situation was. But it seems like I've seen some of the people coming before us in the past when I wasn't on the council, when I was down there in the audience, and seeing people raising that kind of issue from our podium about having gigantic water bills because of leaks. And I think it's something I would love to see if we can do something about reducing the amount so that if they are not actually responsible for the water usage, is there something we can do about that so that they're not getting whacked with these gigantic bills?
If the leak occurs, the town is responsible, as you come off the water main, for each private service there's a tap, which goes to a gate valve, typically located on the edge of the sidewalk or the edge of the private property. The town owns the gate box out to the water main.
Yeah, I understand.
The private homeowner owns from the gate box, the service, the pipe that runs across their lawn typically into the house and everything after that. If there's a leak from the gate box into the house, the private homeowner or business is responsible. We can't touch it. It's private property. So if the leak is occurring there, it's up to that private party to fix it, or they get billed, because the water has to be paid for, and if they don't pay for it, then all the other water users pay for it. And obviously, if I have a leak on my property, it's incumbent on me to pay for it, not give that bill to all the other water users. So I think the short answer to the question is the water rate is specifically set to encourage people to fix water leaks, and those who don't will pay the price.
Okay. Also, one of the other things I wanted to ask about is, actually, this kind of goes back a point ago, a couple of points ago when Councilor Vecchia brought up we were talking about the landfill account. I'd also like to see the kinds of figures. What have we spent? How much have we spent from that account so far this year?
From the landfill royalties account?
And what do we expect to spend it on going forward?
I'll get that for you.
Okay, thanks. And also, to go back to Mr. DiGregorio's demise, I was talking to Dick Cowett the other day, and he's been working with Rudy for some time now to help arrange for Christmas decorations and so forth. And I was hoping, and he noted that he wasn't sure where this was going to go from here, because Rudy was kind of the creative side and he was the building side. So I know that he's appealing for some help to help make sure that this can happen and keep going forward. So if anybody can come forward and help with that, that would be certainly appreciated. And one last little thing is, I was walking down on South Street the other day, and the weeds there are awful. But also, I thought it was interesting that, and probably kind of dangerous, the fact that the sidewalk switches sides back and forth on South Street. It's probably on other streets too, but I happen to notice it there. And obviously, I don't know if that's a Chapter 90 issue. And we have to
South Street?
South Street, yeah. So that's obviously something we'd have to plan for, because that's a significant funding requirement to actually fix sidewalks for the whole street. But
we've actually got a bunch of kids from Nichols College coming, I don't know the date, but fairly soon, and we've identified a number of areas. They're doing it in part of the celebration of the college of an event. Bicentennial. And Bicentennial, thank you. And they've offered very graciously to provide a lot of labor. We provide whatever materials are needed, and they give the labor. So weed removal and those bushes you were talking about may also be on the list. And there's going to be some fence painting up at the airport, so we've got a tremendous amount of labor So I'll get all these situations teed up and taken care of, and I'll report back to the council on that.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Councilor Pelican.
I'd just like to offer my condolences to Mr. DeGregorio's friends and family. I know he did a lot of really good work for the town, and I'm sorry to hear of his passing. I'd also like to say that I am going to be giving out books to trick-or-treaters again this year, so if anybody has any gently used children's or young adults books that they don't have need of anymore, just give me a call and I'll be happy to take those off your hands. My number is 413-695-5289, and I'm looking forward to giving out books to a lot of happy trick-or-treaters again this year with your help. So, thanks.
Thank you. Councilor Manna?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. Just a couple things tonight. I did receive an email from a resident here in town in regards to the September 8th meeting when I was talking at Councilors Forum in regards to the yard sale sign. And he sent me an email, and he comes up with a good idea, a community bulletin board somewhere in town where people can post their yard sales. I mean, summertime, keep it out during the summertime. It's a good way, he believes, and I believe too, to help try to control the waste. I know we can't keep the signs off of every pole, and we can't make the people, we don't physically go out there and make them take them down. But this could be a way to, curb some of that, possibly, especially if the word get out. And if it was just during the nice weather, we could keep a board or something out, if we had some extra plywood somewhere or something. I thought it was a really great idea. So I just wanted to bring that up. And then on another note, I wanted to bring up a story about a little girl who attends school with my daughter and many other children in this community. Her name is Maya Darouche. She goes to Trinity Catholic Academy, and Maya's been out of school since May 14th, and she's been in the hospital in rehab since May 14th. A little bit about Maya. Back in February 2011, she had a seizure and a stroke. They couldn't figure out what was wrong. They would go to the hospital every 3 months. She'd have her MRIs and her checkups and whatnot. But May 14th, Maya came home from school, it said, and she couldn't remember what happened that day. So her parents took her straight to Boston Children's Hospital, and an MRI confirmed 3 seizures for this little girl, 10 years old. 3 strokes, I apologize. On May 19th, Maya was diagnosed with primary pediatric angiitis of the central nervous system, also known as vasculitis of the CNS. This is an autoimmune disorder in which the body mistakes its own blood vessels that supply the brain and spinal cord as foreign substance and launches antibodies to attack them. Maya had it was discovered with this through a brain biopsy that she had. She's now in rehab up at Spalding, and they want to bring Maya home. They're holding the family or friends of the family are holding a fundraiser for Maya on Saturday, November 15th, 2014. It's a spaghetti fest, they're calling it. They also have salad and dessert. It's from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. There's going to be live music, raffles, a cash bar, and it's being held at LaSalle Reception Center at 444 Main Street in Southbridge. Tickets for adults are $15, and tickets for children are $8. And if you'd like tickets, you can contact Melanie Naylor at 508-864-1923, or Gail Palmer at 774-230-9453. It's going to be very expensive to bring Maya home and get the equipment that she needs to get better. But we want to make Maya strong again. So we hope you can attend the Spaghetti Fest or maybe make a donation or something for Maya. And that's it. Thank you.
Just as a quick aside as well, they've, as an ongoing fundraiser, they've also been selling Maya Strong T-shirts that have had a very good, they've been very successful, and I'm sure that touching base with those folks can, if you're interested, you can pick up one of those shirts as well to go towards that. Councilor Estrada?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tonight, just only good night and God bless you, my citizen. Soon, presentation, my plan is working for you and yours. Thank you.
Okay. Councilor Clemens?
Thank you. One thing first, I'd like to address Councilor Steve's comment about the shut-off notices that we got on the back of the town manager's report. They're cycle 2 shut-offs for the water department. You might not be aware, Mr. Steves, Councilor Steves, but a lot of those could be multiple quarters, not just from one large quarter. When we started doing shut-offs like 3 or so years ago, there were people in arrears for 5-6 years who were making no attempt. So these are actually very low bills compared to those initial bills back then. I don't think it makes it any easier. I'm just explaining in case you weren't aware that when there's an $800 bill, it could be for 3 quarters even. If the average bill is $200 to $250, it could be, more or less. So I'm just mentioning that. And these would have just gone out recently versus other older ones. We usually wait about a year before the catch-up. So they're in arrears longer, just mentioning that. Let's see, had an interesting occurrence today, and I think because it's of safety, I want to share it with the public. I was walking my grandson today down a road, taking a nice, wonderful walk, and everything was great, and we heard this really loud boom noise. Sounded like, remember the old M80s or whatever you want to call it, or a shotgun in the woods, but louder, more like an M80. Didn't make any, well, I wasn't sure what that was, and I thought, well, okay, someone's fooling around somewhere. Continued our walk. We were on a backwoodsy road kind of thing, and enjoying our time. It was a beautiful day. And as I crossed the street and was on another road, lo and behold, I started to hear horrible noises. Not big booms. This time they were crackles and pops, and something definitely was wrong. And I'm looking at the electrical poles, and it was quite scary to look up and see sparks coming out of the electrical pole above my head, to which I immediately pushed my grandson a lot faster, because that was not a good thing to be under, and I had no idea what was next. And I also didn't realize that the boom we had heard 5 minutes or actually more was related to that until Officer Larochelle, Fireman Larochelle told me about that. But anyway, as I continued about 3 or 4 poles later, I stopped the carriage and I looked back to see what was going on, and the pole was on fire, and there was still a lot of horrible noise, and I had my cell phone, so I thought, what do I do? I mean, it seemed to be getting better, but still there was fire and sparks and danger, I thought. So I actually decided to call the fire department. Wasn't sure if it was a police matter or a fire matter. So I called the fire department, and I got Fireman Larochelle on the phone and said, hey, it's me. I don't know who I'm supposed to be calling. But, and he was very nice about things. He said, yes, no, this was good. The fire department has an in with National Grid, obviously, when issues like this happen. Many times you'll hear a condenser blows or whatever, something happens out there. Well, we were under it today when things happened, and it can be scary. So if you ever have that issue, obviously you want to get far away from the noise you're experiencing around you, because you don't know what could happen with that pole. In my case, the fire went out, but I did call, and they were in touch with the electric company. There was a power outage at the water plant up there. So, excuse me, not the water plant. This up by the reservoir. The power was out on Brecknick Road. Let's not cause rumors. So, Fireman Larochelle did speak to me this evening about that, and I thought it was important that the community know if you ever have that occurrence, obviously safety, get away and contact either the police or the fire, he did say, but they do take these things very seriously. Safety of our community is first and foremost. So just a warning to the community, it's not a pleasant thing to encounter. It seemed like TV. Anyway, okay, so let's see, water bills, electric. So by now we're all, we know that Rudy passed away this past week. Very sad occurrence. Obviously, people get to a certain age and you do expect that it's going to come eventually. Just didn't see it quite as soon as this. Rudy, as Councilor Steves put out, was working on a new project, as he has done the last 5 years. And it'll be a doozy, I'm sure. I saw some templates and such early on in the season, and we just let Rudy do his thing, and we usually show up in his workshop at some point, and he'll say, come and see what I've got. And we see some giant airplane or something, and I usually say something like, so Rudy, what are we going to do with that? And he'll say, well, it's going to go. It's going to go on the streets, or it's going to go on the town common, or you're going to put it out there. What do you mean? What do you mean, Rudy? And he'd say, you and your people. The people are going to do this. The first time he ever did that to me, I was in awe when he did 24 trees. You might remember the trees with the candy canes. I looked at that warehouse full of giant trees on heavy skids and thought, he's crazy, he's lost it. But we did. We saw his dream made into a reality that year, and each year since, he's created new things for us. I'm very proud that Dick Howard is willing to continue that dream for this year. We don't know what's going to happen. To your point, Councilor Steves, we have been in talking prior to this, actually, we've been talking about what might happen down the road. Will we get the community support? We've had such outpouring of compliments and joy doing the tree lighting and the town common event and just bringing these crazy things onto Main Street. People from all over, as you know, we even made it on TV one year. The little town that brought Christmas or something, I forgot what the title was. We made it on national news station. Somebody had sent in a video of our town common. It's great, and if you can help in any way, you can go onto Monique's website at getinvolvedinyourtown.com, I believe she can tell you again. You can call us. We're listed in the phone book. We're listed all over the place. You know how to find us. If you want to give some time in November, October into November, we need to get some time going in the evenings. We do painting. We do things. And, last year people said, oh, we got to honor Rudy. And we gave him a citation, and the state gave him something. And I said then that if you really want to honor Rudy, when he asks for help, say yes. So we're saying it again. If you want to honor Rudy this year, say yes. Give us an hour, give us 2 hours, give us just the weekend when we put this stuff out. Come and help us. It's a community effort because everybody benefits from it, especially our community. And I leave you with the fact that Rudy made such an impression on me. I knew Rudy from his flower business, but I didn't know what happened to Rudy. Rudy was quiet for many years. He decorated Notre Dame Church and St. Mary's and many other places. He was quiet and in the wings in his workshop until 5 years ago when we discovered his elves and Santa's Village and everything else, and made it come to life for the rest of the community. And he was so glad to do it. His enthusiasm was contagious, and his energy was like none out there. I don't know how a man of his age could work 14, 16 hours a day. It didn't matter when you went up to that workshop, he was there. Now, he did occasionally take an hour or two off and go home and have a little lunch, but he would come back, and we would work with him till 8 o'clock at night, sometimes maybe 9 o'clock, and he was the last one to leave. He would shut the lights. He would say, no, go, you go. I'm going to just finish. I just got to finish this. I just got to add some more glitter. I just got to add a little more something. And, we're going to miss him. We loved him. Yeah, this community lost somebody really important. So honor Rudy this year if you get asked, please. Or even if you don't get asked, just come and let us know you want to honor Rudy. And thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you. Councilor Carrasco?
Yes, just two things. I want to also express my condolences to the family, and for those that also would like to participate tomorrow, there is a viewing from 5 to 7 at San Souci Funeral Home. If you want to come and honor Mr. DiGregorio and his family. On another note, I just want to thank the Southbridge Police Association and the Cops and Kids program for the car show. This year I was able to attend, and I want to acknowledge my counselors that took the challenge at the dunk tank. I want to say thank you for doing it, but you guys are all losers because I raised the most money.
It's that big mouth.
No, you lost in the matter of raising the money, but sorry about that. But again, I just want to say it was a great time. I will do it again, and I challenge anybody next year to try to outbeat me, because I have a way of getting people to try to dunk it. So, but again, I want to say thank you, and it was. I remember many years ago, Brunson Arroyo wrote a song, "Boston's Dirty Water." Let me tell you, Southbridge has its own dirty water in that dunk tank. but I can tell you, it was well worth it. I enjoyed the dirty water in the dunk tank. I did not drink it. Trust me, I did not drink it. But I did enjoy every moment of it. It was just a great time. And I was able to see the cars, see the vendors, and see a lot of the things that went up. And I just thank all those that, from the airport to the town to the volunteers that organized it, the sponsors. It was great to see another great event for our community to bring it out and be unified again. I think there's so much great assets in our community, great people, and it shows when we come out and unite for these events, and I think it's a great thing, again. So I just want to say kudos to the Southbridge Police Department, the cops and kids, the ones that were involved. And again, just save the date. When they said it, save it, get ready. We're going back into the dunk tank. That's all I have.
Moving on to agenda number 15, discussion of next meeting date.
Monday, October 8th, 2014 at 7 p.m.
And agenda item number 16, adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Unanimous. We are adjourned. Thank you, folks.
For the record.